Okay, seventh grade. Look, I'm still out today, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to do the best that I can. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over the work that you did yesterday. You should have had the worksheet passed back to you, and you should be able to look at it right now in your hands as we go through it. All the answers are in red, so here's number one. The answer is number 17. But before we go through all of that, there's only two types of problems on this worksheet. Okay? Take a look at 1, 2, 6, 9, and 10. Check to see if you got those answers right. If you didn't, mark it on your paper. Relax. I'm not going to take that up for a grade. What I need you to do is I need you to find the mistakes. So check 1, 2, 6, 9, and 10. I've got them highlighted right here. Just put a little X beside it if you missed it. Okay, not a big deal. And let's scroll on down and let's take a look at the other problems that are like those. 13, 14, 17, and 18. So 13 is negative 20, 14 is negative 17, 17 is negative 21, and 18 is negative 12. Okay, so the reason that I've highlighted these is that these are slightly different than the non-highlighted problems. And that's because the two numbers that you're adding together are both negatives. See this? This is negative 2 plus negative 17. So when they're both negatives, just add them up as if they had no negatives. So 2 plus 15 is 17, but they're both negative, so make it negative. If you wrote positive 17, you made a mistake. So right here, these two numbers are negative. Add them up. What's 10 plus 15? It's 25. They're both negatives. Make sure it's negative. You know, it's just like this. 10 plus 15 would equal positive 25 because they're both positive. So this would be a positive answer. If they're both negative, then it needs to be a negative answer. And so 15 and 13 added up is 28. Make sure it's negative 28. Same thing's happening with all the others on here. Negative 22, negative 11, negative 20, negative 17, negative 21, negative 12. Really, I don't think you should have a ton of answers. If it's bothering you about why this is negative 12 and not positive 12, the only thing I can tell you is that it's a rule that when you add two negative numbers together, it stays negative. You might be thinking of multiplication from last year, like negative 3 times negative 3 would equal positive 9, because a negative times negative is positive. But that's multiplication. We're not multiplying. We're just adding, okay? So when you're adding two negative numbers and they both have the same, if they're both negative, make sure that your answer is negative also, okay? So that's all these yellow highlighted ones, adding two negative numbers together. Now we need to take a look at what's going on with all the others, and these are the green ones. So please take a look and grade your paper real quick to see what you need help on. Number 3 is 0, 4 is 5, question number 5 is negative 2, number 7 is 3, number 8 is negative 2, 11 is negative 14, 12 is 2, 15 is 0, 16 is 4, 19 is 5, and 20 is 4. Okay, and you can pause the video at any time. You can run it back to see these answers. Now, let's go take a look at what's happening here that is different. First off, what's happening is that you'll notice that this is a positive 9. Here's the plus sign, and then here's a negative 9. So it's like a positive and a negative being added together. When you have two different signs on here, you need to subtract these two numbers. So what's 9 minus 9? 0. If it's 0, don't worry about putting a sign on it. That's your answer. They've canceled it out. Think of it like this. If 9 people were walking along from Raceland, right here, because they're the positive ones, and they ran into, you know, let's just say some negative people. We're not going to name what school that they're from. So they're not going to get along, and there's going to be a fight, and there's a special way that they fight. Every single one of these positives. Well, let me go back through and let me make positive signs on there instead. I'm going to make 9 plus signs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now let me make 9 negative signs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What happens is that every positive sign will lock up with one negative sign, and they cancel out. Fight to the death and no longer exist. So this one will cancel this one out. And what you'll see is a canceling out effect all the way down the line, and whoever is left standing would be the answer. And so since there's nobody left standing here, that's the reason we're saying it's 0. Okay? So let's take a look at this one real quick right here. This is a positive 4, and this is a negative 6. It's positive 4 plus negative 6. So since they are different, I'm not going to say 4 minus 6. I'm going to say, hey, negative 6 is in my head, without reasoning. 6 is more than 4. So I'm going to say, hey, what's 6 minus 4? Because when they're different signs and we're adding, we're going to subtract. Take the bigger one and subtract the smaller one. 6 minus 4 is 2. Well, who's going to send more to the fight? Let's take a look at the positives here. How many positives did we have? We had 4 positives. How many negatives did we have? We had 6 negatives. And remember the way that they fight. They lock up and they cancel out. So that one's gone. This pair locks up and is gone. This positive locks up there. And we have 2 left, and they're both negative signs. So it better be a negative 2. And you can go through and do that with every single one of these, or you can start memorizing the rules of the following. Hey, if they're not both negatives, you got one positive and you've got one negative, subtract them. What's 6 minus 4? 2. And then come back here. Don't brush off there real quick. See who brings more to the fight, the positives or the negatives. Whoever brings more to the fight, that's what you're going to stick on there. 6 negatives are going to beat 4 positives. So it's a negative 2. And if it's a tie, just put a 0 on there with no sign. So here we go, 14 minus 9. Why am I doing 14 minus 9? Because 14 is a lot more than the 9. So I'm just going to do 14 minus 9 is 5. And you tell me who's going to win, the positives or the negatives. Hopefully you're going, yeah, it's the positives, and that's why it's a positive 5. Over here, we've got 14 positives and we've got 11 negatives. So go ahead and subtract them. 14 minus 11 is 3, but who's going to win? In this case, it's the positive, so it's a positive 3, and that's why they have that there. Now over here, it's 8 minus 6 because it's a negative minus 6, They're going to pair off. 6 positives, we're going to take out 6 negatives, and we're going to have 2 negatives left. Or you can just go, hey, what's 8 minus 6? 2. Who's going to win, the negatives or the positives? In this case, it's negative, so make it negative. Now, this is totally different than what's happening up here in these yellow ones. Please remember that. That's totally different. What's happening in the yellow ones is this is a negative, this is a negative. It's all the buddies walking along. You got 2 negatives here. You got 15 over here. And they're all happy. And it equals 17 negatives together. They don't fight. They just become a bigger group. Same thing here. 10 negatives and 15 negatives. No fighting. They just become a bigger group. 25 negatives. But as soon as they're on different teams, as soon as they're on positive and negatives, they square off, they fight. And remember, it's a 1-to-1 locking up method. And that's the way it is. The only thing that you really need to remember there is that, hey, sometimes you can't just subtract like 1 minus 15. 15 negatives is a lot more than 1, so just do this. 15 minus 1 is 14. Hey, it's 15 negatives. 1 positives, you better be telling me it's a negative 14. So hopefully that clears up some of the mistakes that you made yesterday, if you made some. The work looked pretty good. Um, Take a look at the new work. Don't rush through it. Before you do every single problem, figure out, are they both negatives or are they mixed signals there? Are they mixed signs? We have to do the subtraction bit. So do your best, and you'll be turning that work in at the end of class. Thanks, guys. Hopefully see you tomorrow.